Hey everybody, it's Cayley. I am back with another What Sold from last week video. In today's video, we are going to be going over a previous sales week, sharing what is selling well right now on eBay and Poshmark. I am probably still a couple of weeks behind, but some good things are happening. I've had some up and downs weeks. We'll see if this week was an up or a down, but sales were really slow towards the end of January. Currently, it is I think the second week of February, and sales have picked back up. So that's some good news. Lots of cool things happening here. You can see we just condensed our inventory. I'm still working on increasing that average sale price, and then as soon as that is done, we're going to work on reducing this inventory here by a couple of thousand. So that is what is in the works right now. Things are still going very strong with the group, and yeah, let's dive into the sales. That's a quick update.
All right, guys, so this is definitely going to be a shorter one today because, as you can see, it was a very slow week for me compared to the sales that I normally do. Still happy with some of the higher price sales that really helped pull the week through, but this week was not the best for me. So I've got less to show you. I tried to filter through some things and grab the items to show you that I think are more spring-like because customers have really transitioned to buying spring stuff. So if there are any wintry type stuff, it's probably something that I would still get that I just consider a bolo. So I did try to filter that a little bit for you guys and also pull some new to me brands that you might want to know about. So in total, I sold 204 items for gross item sales of just under $6,000. My average sale price was also extremely low. My average sale price for everything this week was $28.94, and that's for the actual item itself. So yeah, it was not great. Here is this report in case you're interested in it, but I am going to go ahead and dive into some of these sales because I have some pretty interesting brands to show you. So this would be an example of a newer brand to me and also a winter item that I would probably still consider getting in like spring and summer just because it holds some value. It is the brand Toast. They make some pretty high quality sweaters. I've sold a couple of their pieces now and they always sell pretty quickly. So I thought it was worth mentioning. This is a Shetland wool women's sweater. In other countries, they call sweaters jumpers, which I know for us, it means something different here. But whenever I have a brand that I can tell almost everybody's putting the word jumper in, I put it in as well. And then I also include sweater. So that is why that is there. I listed this for $85. It did sell for my full asking price and it only took a couple of weeks to sell. So definitely be on the lookout for this brand Toast. All right, next up is another sweater sale. This one was very surprising to me. This is a vintage Brooks Brothers, which I did know some of their vintage stuff can do really well and some of their newer stuff can do well also. But Brooks Brothers in general in the men's department can be a pretty good brand to look for. This is a 100% Shetland wool vintage dead stock, meaning it is new, still has the tags on it. However, this one had several holes throughout, which we made sure to note it as new with defects. And surprisingly, this sold super quickly. Now, if this didn't have holes in it, I probably could have listed this for well over $100, and it had an amazing sell-through rate also. So if you guys ever see anything like this, I would definitely recommend looking it up. And again, something that had such a great sell-through rate that if I found it in the dead of summer, I would probably still get it. But it's got to be vintage, got to be new with tags, got to be wool, you know, lots of things going for it. So I listed this for $65. It sold very quickly within just a couple of weeks for my full asking price, and this one went on an international sale. This is a brand that is not new to me, but one that I think is going to do extremely well this spring and summer, which is Love Shack Fancy. This brand generally does pretty good, but there's this new style aesthetic. Some of you actually told me it's not new. Maybe it's just a resurgence, but Coquette, I think is how you guys told me to pronounce it, is very trendy right now, and this brand is just like, it just screams that style aesthetic. So I've seen a lot of stuff like this start selling, so I think this brand is going to perform like incredibly this spring and summer. This is just a mini skirt. I listed it for $60 and it did sell for my full asking price. This one did take a few months to sell, but it's because I listed a mini skirt, towards the end of fall. So it's selling now for full asking price. And I do think that stuff like this is going to just perform incredible over the next few months. All right, next up is another brand that performs really well in spring and summer for me, and I'd imagine is going to do awesome this year as well. It is Zarina, kind of a newer brand to me. I have sold a few of their pieces now. They make a lot of really like gauzy-like stuff, and so this texture is still really popular right now. I personally love this texture, and I would imagine a lot of brands are going to be having this style aesthetic again this year, but we will see. But so far it's performing well. This one did have a small flaw on it. I listed it for $70 because it was a midi dress, and it sold on an offer to watcher for $59. This one actually sold the same day I listed it, probably because I dropped the price slightly just because of the spots. All right, next up is another item I would definitely get in spring and summer, even though it's a winter item, because it does hold value and it sells for quite a bit. It is very high quality, made in Ireland chunky knit sweaters. This is a very popular brand in that category called Aran Woolen Mills. This is a merino wool chunky all over cable knit women's sweater. It also has like a cowl turtleneck. So just a ton going for this sweater. I listed this for $65. It sold on an offer to watcher for $55, and this one only took about 2.5 weeks to sell, but fantastic sale, and again, an item I would definitely pick up, even in the dead of summer. One thing you want to be careful of, and I've come across this a lot over the last couple of months, is to make sure these are not shrunken. Make sure they don't feel stiff, make sure they're still soft, and that you can put your arm through it. All right, next up is a newer brand to me. It is LA Saison Sportive. Very new to me. But regardless of brand, I do think this is a good brand. But regardless of brand, I definitely would have probably picked these up because we've talked about it before. Knit pull-on pants that are either cashmere blend or merino wool blend perform extremely well for me. You can see that this is a very specific type of merino wool, super fine 140s, so good indicators of a quality item. And again, I think this brand is awesome as well. I listed these for $65. If you came across these at the thrift store, they're so plain, like would you even notice them? So this is why I love doing these what sold videos, so I can share some little niche tips that I've learned over the years, because I think it helps to factor stack. So these ones I listed for $65. They sold on an offer to watcher for $55. These ones only took about 1.5 weeks to sell. Next up, this brand has been selling really well for me over the last few weeks. We're obviously still catching up on what sold videos, so I've got a few more weeks to catch up on with you guys, but I was searching this in my solds and realized I had sold quite a bit of Robert Graham lately. So I think just for this spring season, guys are really looking for this brand. They are well known for their flip cuff shirts, contrast cuffs where you can flip it up and you can see the pattern underneath. So if you find something like that, definitely going to add value. They do have some more rare ones. And then specifically, if you can find larger sizes in this brand, this one's a 3XL, you're going to see a lot of value be pulled in. And that's why it's so important when you're doing comps, to try and include the specifics of the factors you think are going to either increase or decrease the value, because if not, you might be leaving money on the table. So this is a 3XL men's, just pretty plain white button-up shirt, but it does have the contrast cuff. This also had some staining on the sleeve cuffs, which we made sure to note. I listed this for $50 and it did sell for my full asking price. This one also took several months to sell, but again, I think I just listed it in the wrong season and we're now coming into the right season. All right, this is a pretty cool sale. I got this in wholesale from Trash Pandas. They find some really cool stuff sometimes. This is a Champion reverse weave, which used to be like a huge bolo to find anything reverse weave. I don't think that's the case anymore. However, this was a graphic like college print by Brown University, which is a popular university. And because of that, it actually had a lot more value than normal. Plus it was this cool like mustardy brown color. This is a vintage 80s item. It did have a small spot on the front, which is why this dot is here, and you can kind of see the faint spot as well. But I listed this pretty high at $70. It sold the same exact day for full asking price, and this went on an international sale through the eBay International Shipping Program. So again, reverse weave, anything in reverse weave is not going to be great, but certain pieces, if they have more unique prints, can do well. All right, this is a newer brand to me that has been performing really well. It is Effie's Heart. So I thought I'd share this with you guys. I might have mentioned this once or twice, but I've only sold a few other pieces. They remind me kind of like fresh produce a little bit. They give me kind of that vibe, or maybe Matilda Jane. I listed this for $35. It's just a knee-length floral skirt. It sold for my full asking price of $35, and it took about a month to sell. All right, I expect this to be extremely popular this year. Towards the end of summer last year in 2023, this style aesthetic really started taking off, but then of course, fall and winter hit and then it tapered off. But I would imagine that this is going to be extremely popular during this year for all of spring and summer, and they are like athletic wear, like jumpsuits and dresses. I've noticed a lot of people wearing them, so you heard it here first. It's probably going to be popular again, and I'm starting to see some evidence of that. So this is an Outdoor Voices, not a brand I typically get, but again, a very on-trend piece with the dress with the shorts underneath. I listed this for $40, and it sold on an offer to watcher for $34. This one took about a month and wait, no, just kidding. This one took, yes, about a month and a half to sell. I cannot math right now. All right, next up, another thing I think is going to be popular this season are the midi and maxi length skirts, specifically in your trendy brands like Anthropologie. This is Maeve by Anthropologie. It is a nice little like satin florally print. I listed this for $35. It sold for my full asking price. This one also took several months to sell, but again, I listed them in the wrong season and they're now starting to sell, so that's great. Here's a pair of figs. I haven't talked about this brand in a while. This is a scrubs brand. It's still performing really well for me, and specific pieces can perform even better. This would be the case for this pair of pants. With figs, I always have my listers look up the style number, which is on the tag. And then they also have a PO number down here, which I learned actually gives you the specific color of the scrubs, which is apparently important in the medical field. So I've actually had a lot of customers who want to buy a piece, but then they'll ask me what the specific figs color is. So I've just kind of learned to look at both the style number and the PO number when I get those questions, but definitely the style number. These are called the women's pull-on Zamora joggers. I listed them for $40 because they had a better sell-through rate than most things. They took only 2 weeks to sell, and they sold on an offer to watcher for $34. And these went on an international sale as well. So I had a lot of great international sales this particular week. And that style number is also great because if you've got a piece, sometimes it's hard to tell what gender. To me, their stuff looks pretty unisex. Of course, these are pink, but if you can't tell, looking at that style number will give you not only the style name, but it'll also tell you if it should be marketed as men's or women's. So Key tip for you on figs. I know some of you say you can't sell it. I have really great luck, but that might be because I'm putting in the extra effort to look up the style number. All right, next up is another category that I'm going to be on the lookout for, which is overalls. Every year overalls perform very well in spring and summer. It's just, a classic core aesthetic. And I also think that overalls right now might be doing well because of the gorp core trend. If you find a specific kind of overall, I feel like they'd perform really well because of that aesthetic. These ones were not anything too special. They're a pair of Madewells, which honestly don't have the best sell-through rates, but they were black. They had a raw hem, had a couple things going for it. I listed them for $30. They took several months to sell, but again, I think were listed in the wrong season. It did end up selling for my full asking price, and yeah, pretty happy with that sale. But I am going to be looking up pretty much every pair of denim overalls that I can find. All right, next up is more bread and butter, but a brand in plus sizes that's still performing well. The plus sizes in soft surroundings still have a really great sell-through rate. Anything less than that, not so much, but if you find plus sizes, definitely a bolo. And their log and look tunic tops perform really well in spring and summer. So this is a linen tunic top and a 2X by Soft Surroundings. I listed it for $34. It sold on an offer to watchers for $30. And this one took about a month to sell. All right, next up, this is the brand Rising International. This brand has tapered off a little bit. However, I thought it was still worth noting the all over patchwork design. Anything that's all over patchwork, I am looking up. I'm selling a lot of stuff like this. So if you guys see something like this, maybe keep your eye out for it. I definitely think it's a factor and an aesthetic that people are looking for. I listed these for $30. They sold on an offer to watcher for $25. And they took less than a week to sell, about 6 days it looks like exactly. So keep your eye out for stuff like this. All right, this is a pretty cool sale. I'm proud of the sale because of factor stacking. I just love selling stuff that you wouldn't think would sell. I got this at the bins, which is why I took a risk on it. It is just a Target brand universal thread. I personally love wearing this company myself, but it just does not have very good resale value for the most part. But I've learned if you can factor stack some things with this brand and it gives you that gut feeling, you feel really good about it, that it can sell as a bread and butter. So I picked this up for the bins. I probably paid about, I don't know, $2, maybe $3 for it based on weight, but it had that it factor. It was very on trend, had the oversized puff sleeves. It was a dress, which is a little bit more of a substantial piece. Was not a long length dress, but it had a really good floral print, just very on trend, I listed this for $25. It did sell for my full asking price, and it only took 2 months to sell, which I feel like is great for this brand. So I'm going to try factor stacking with this brand a little bit more. All right, moving on to the Poshmark sales. I did have some pretty good Poshmark sales that I thought I would share with you. Some are bread and butter, some are more bolos. This is a newer brand to me. It is called Boga. And they just make very high quality wool pieces. And I actually sold this one and this one in a bundle, so I gave the buyer a good deal. They both ended up selling for about $37 each. So might be a brand you want to look out for. Kind of like the Aaron Crafts. If I found a good enough piece in the dead of summer, I would probably pick it up. All right, this is a brand that performs very well in spring and summer for me, although I do have to factor stack a lot with this brand, just like, what brand were we just talking about? Oh, Soft Surroundings. Just like Soft Surroundings, the plus sizes in Eileen Fisher also are a bolo, but if you find something less than a plus size, if you factor stack enough, I think it can be worth listing. I have some very good luck with this brand, Eileen Fisher. This is an Eileen Fisher pretty plain women's t-shirt. However, it is organic cotton. It's a size extra large, and it was new with tags. So for those reasons, I listed it pretty high, and it sold on an offer for $48. Next up, this is a newer brand to me and definitely a category I'm going to be looking out for a lot, which is just linen pieces in general. This is a wide leg pair of linen pants, and this is by a new brand that has a pretty good following called Gravel and Gold. They do have their own size chart, like sizing, so make sure to keep that in mind. But yeah, pretty good comps on this. Very log and looky piece. It sold for $47. So definitely a category to look out for. All right, this is a brand that has been performing amazing. It is called Outer Known, very new, like outdoorsy brand. This is a men's long sleeve plaid jacket. It went for $100. I think I've shown this brand a couple of times, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but still performing really, really well. This is a vintage denim Wrangler Western jacket. Western stuff is still very on trend right now, so I am keeping my eye out for stuff like this. This I probably could have gotten quite a bit more for. I think I listed it for like 65 or 75. I had a very good following in this specific piece. However, a buyer offered me 45 and I went ahead and accepted because I'm all about the quick sale. So they got a deal. I got to move an item quickly. It was a win-win, but definitely keep your eye out for these Wrangler vintage denim jackets because, yeah, you can sell them for quite a bit. All right, this is an Anthropologie piece. This is just I guess I'll call it a fabric that's been performing extremely well for me. It is like a velvet burnout where there's like a velvet applique. I don't know if that's even correct, but you get what I'm saying. There's like a silky type fabric underneath, and then there's velvet, like printed pattern on top. That's like a velvet burnout material, and it just adds incredible value to any piece. And I've noticed that this stuff is still selling. So this is an Anthropologie dress. It sold for $70 with a broken button loop. I mean, come on. So keep your eye out for this velvet burnout material in lots of things. Chico's it performs really well in, soft surroundings, obviously Anthropologie, but what I guess I'm trying to say is if there is a brand that you wouldn't normally pick up, but it's got this kind of fabric on it, look it up and make sure to use the keywords velvet burnout. All right, this is a newer brand to me as well. It's definitely bread and butter, but has a really good sell-through rate. It is Pangea, I think is how it's pronounced. They make men's, women's, and kids. And they're, I think, most well known for their t-shirts. 25 bucks, but they do flip very quickly. This is just a men's short sleeve t-shirt, went for 25. All right, next up, a newer brand to me. It is Rowan. I couldn't find a whole lot about this brand, but I did notice that it was performing pretty well on Poshmark, so I went ahead and took a chance. Very high quality feeling maxi dress. It sold for $45 and it sold pretty quickly. So keep your eye out for Rowan, and just in general, like these tacked on tags are good indicators of good brands. All right, next up is Vuori. You guys know I love this brand in the athletic wear category. This brand is just performing amazingly. However, I have noticed they've started making stuff that is not like leggings or joggers and stuff like that. So these are a pair of ripstop pants. I've sold a ton of these lately. Very popular style. Every time I pick them up, I think they're men's, but they actually end up being women's. So it's always important to look up the style numbers to make sure, you're putting the right style and also the correct gender. But yeah, great brand to sell. I just thought it was worth sharing that they have more than just athletic wear pieces that are performing well. These ripstop women's pants went for $45 on Poshmark. All right, this was the sale of the week. It definitely carried some of my other sales. This is the brand Magnolia Pearl. If you guys ever see this, I would just get it. I would recommend that you go look up some of their pieces because they're wacky, they're weird. Some of them look like distressed. They look like they're damaged, but they're really not. So I do recommend getting to know this brand. But yeah, amazing piece. I actually had this listed really high at like $400-ish. But with having really slow sales this particular week and the week before, as you guys saw, I had to do a little bit of like extra work and sales to make sure sales were generating. So one of my strategies was to filter to my most liked items on Poshmark and send out generous offers. So from that came selling this at a much more discounted rate but I am so happy with the quick flip. This sold for $260. Could I have waited and maybe made a lot more? I probably could have, but again, I'm all about the quick flip. Someone got a good deal and I got to move an item, but definitely keep your eye out for Magnolia Pearl and get to know that brand. All right, next up is a bra brand that is a absolute bolo. It sells really well for me. It is Negative. This is just a little meshy type bra. They do have their own sizing, so you want to keep that in mind. I sold this for $34 pre-owned. That's great for a bra brand, especially with how lightweight it is. If you found it at the bins, I would say absolutely pick it up. All right, this kind of goes along with that kind of like jumpsuity athletic wear category and dresses. This is, I don't believe, an athletic wear brand, but it just kind of reminds me of that style. It is called Embody. You guys should look this up. Great sell-through rate, great comps. Yeah, first time finding it. I'm definitely going to keep my eye out for stuff like this, but this is a women's jumpsuit, just a very comfy kind of like drop crotch feel, which is really trendy. This sold for $80 and I don't have the exact date on it, but I'm pretty sure it sold with like a week of getting listed. Here's another outer known item. This is a pair of men's sweat shorts. These sold for $42 pre-owned. Again, just an incredible brand to be on the lookout for, and their sizes are usually on their material tags. All right, this is a winter item I would probably look for and pick up in the dead of summer. Vince is not a brand that I normally get. However, their cashmere pieces can perform really well. This is a men's or unisex cashmere scarf. It went for $55 on Poshmark, you guys. I feel like that's amazing. So definitely keep your eye out for more categories than just clothing. Consider accessories and stuff too if you're having a hard time finding stuff. Belts, things like that, because there can be some really great bolos out there. And I mean, like if you found this at the bins, super lightweight, flip it for 50, 60 bucks. That's awesome. All right, this is a brand I don't normally get anymore. It is Rag & Bone. It has to be a very specific piece, but I learned that these Miramar joggers are a huge bolo in this brand. So they're joggers that look like denim jeans. So if you find that in the brand Rag & Bone, they are called the Miramar joggers, and they have an incredible sell-through rate, and they sell for a lot. I think I listed these around like, I don't know, like $75-ish or something like that. Anyways, they ended up selling very quickly on an offer for $63. So definitely keep your eye out for that. Here is a shapewear brand that has been performing extremely well for me. It is Honey Love. So I've been picking up a lot of this. This one I was lucky enough to get new with tags. It is a bodysuit, and it sold for $45 on Poshmark, and I've sold pre-owned in their shapewear stuff, and I've sold new with tags, and it all sells pretty well. So I don't know if it's like an up and coming brand or one that's been around, but I just now started learning about it. Here's another figs piece. This is more bread and butter. This is a Raffaella women's scrub top, 25 bucks. If I can get 25 bucks for the fig scrubs, I'm totally okay with that. So again, make sure to look up the style number and be sure with what you are listing. Here's another Negative bra. This one only went for 25, but again, bras pre-owned selling for 25 bucks and up is like incredible. So a bolo brand for sure. And lastly is more bread and butter for me, but I just thought I would share it with you. I know it only went for 20 bucks, but they're pretty common to find. They are Michael Kors plus size tops. This is a 2X. It has some chain print detail. I wouldn't say just get anything plus size. You want to make sure it has something going for it, like a good print, a good fabric, a good style, something like that. I wouldn't just pick up a plain Michael Kors 2X t-shirt with nothing on it. But factor stacking for plus sizes in this brand can perform well. So I just realized we had these photos switched. It's still sold, so that's great. So 20 bucks for this. I can usually get 20 to 25 if I factor stack.
Alright guys, so that's it for what sold last week. Hope that you guys enjoyed watching. If you're not already and you would like to be, don't forget to subscribe down below. Hit that notification bell. If you do that, you'll be notified every single time I post new content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.